1948, a tiny garage in Cento, Italy. Not a workshop, a graveyard. Bent Morris truck engines coughing dust. Rusted military differentials stacked like bones. Buckets of bolts the Allied forces didn't bother sweeping up. The whole place smells like defeat. Anyone else would have tossed this wartime junk into a ditch. But Ferruccio Lamborghini wasn't anyone else. He looks at this wreckage, this mechanical carnage, and sees opportunity. He rolls up his sleeves, grabs a wrench, and starts resurrecting the dead. Piece by piece, he doesn't just assemble a tractor, he builds the beginning of a revolution. It's a strange beginning for the man who will one day challenge Ferrari. But this garage, this pile of junk, is where the story of Lamborghini supercars truly begins. Fast forward 15 years. That same mechanic is unveiling a V12 supercar so refined, so powerful, that Ferrari fans refuse to believe it came from a tractor builder. But it did, because everything Ferruccio learned from those tractors ended up under the hood of his supercars. Here's how. Ferruccio's rise begins on February 3rd, 1948, St. Biagio's feast day, an everyday Italian holiday. Except this time, Ferruccio rolls out something no one expects, the Carioca tractor. It's crude, it's mismatched. It looks like a machine held together by stubbornness and prayers. But it has one genius innovation, a patented fuel atomizer that lets the Morris engine start on petrol, then automatically switch to diesel once warm. That one idea saves farmers a fortune. Orders explode almost instantly. Within months, Ferruccio is building one tractor a week. Within a year, 200. He opens a factory, Lamborghini Trattori, and hires workers who can barely believe how fast this new company's growing. But here's the thing. Ferruccio isn't just mass-producing tractors. He's absorbing everything about how machines behave, how engines breathe, how torque moves through a drivetrain, and most importantly, why machines break and how to make sure they don't. Those lessons become the foundation of his engineering philosophy. Make it last. Make it simple. Make it survive abuse. By 1951, he builds the L33, the first all-Lamborghini tractor. No scrap parts, no leftovers. His own engine, his own design. From there, Lamborghini Trattori erupts into innovation. Crawler tractors, air-cooled engines, four-wheel drive systems. By 1962, Ferruccio is wealthy, respected, and running multiple companies. And like any successful Italian businessman of the era, he buys himself a Ferrari. Actually, he buys two, one for him, one for his wife. And almost immediately, they start giving him problems. The clutches fail constantly, repair bills stack up. So Ferruccio does what he always does. He takes the damn thing apart himself. Inside the housing, he finds something infuriating. The clutch assembly is identical to the cheap 10 lira clutch he uses in his tractors. A part worth pennies, Ferrari is charging him a small fortune to replace. To Ferruccio, that isn't engineering excellence. That's a scam. So he storms into Maranello to speak with Enzo Ferrari directly. Now, Enzo wasn't known for humility. Ferruccio confronts him about the clutch design, expecting at least a technical discussion. Instead, Enzo brushes him off, tells him the problem isn't the car, it's the driver. Stick to tractors, Enzo says. Leave sports cars to me. And in that moment, Ferruccio decides he's done buying Ferraris. He's going to build something better. In May 1963, he launches Automobili Lamborghini. He hires the best people alive to make sure he doesn't just compete with Ferrari, he embarrasses them. Giotto Bizzarini, the genius behind the Ferrari 250 GTO. Giampaolo Dallara, young but brilliant. Franco Scaglione, a designer who could turn a sheet of metal into sculpture. The mission: build a fast, smooth, reliable Grand Tourer that makes Ferrari feel outdated. But Ferruccio immediately runs into one massive problem. He's never built a car engine before. So he turns to Bizzarini and gives him the challenge that would define Lamborghini history. Build me a 3.5-liter V12 with at least 350 horsepower. And to sweeten the deal, Ferruccio offers a cash bonus for every 10 horsepower above the target. Bizzarini takes that as a personal dare. He creates a prototype V12 with dual overhead cams, 2 valves per cylinder, 6 Weber carbs, and a short-stroke layout designed to scream. It produces 400 horsepower at 11,000 RPM, insanity for the early 1960s. Ferruccio listens to it wail, smells the hot oil, watches the tach climb, and says no. Because Ferruccio didn't want a track monster. He wanted a Lamborghini, and a Lamborghini, then and now, is not a fragile racing machine. It's something you can drive, something you can live with, something engineered the way a tractor mechanic would do it. Accessible, understandable, durable. So Ferruccio forces the team to tame the engine. They rip out the dry sump racing system and replace it with a wet sump. Simpler, cheaper, easier. Compression drops from 11 to 1 to 9.4 to 1. Exotic forged crank materials are swapped for robust, reliable ones. They move the distributors to the front so anyone can reach them. They install a tall, easy-to-replace oil filter, straight out of tractor logic. The result becomes the soul of the Lamborghini 350 GT. 280 horsepower of smooth, refined, usable power. A V12 that didn't need a priest in holy water to keep it running. And that tractor mindset, build it tough, build it simple, build it to last, becomes Lamborghini DNA forever. The 350 GTV prototype appears in 1963. The design is wild, almost too futuristic. People don't know what to think. Ferruccio doesn't panic. He simplifies it, refines it, brings it back down to earth. In March 1964, he reveals the production-ready 350 GT in Geneva. This time, the world pays attention. 158 miles per hour, 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds. But the real shock is how civilized it is. No tantrums, no breakdowns, no drama. And this is the moment everything flips, where tractor engineering stops being a background detail and becomes the very thing that makes Lamborghini untouchable. That detuned tractor philosophy V12 stays in production for 46 straight years. It evolves into the 400 GT, then becomes the heart of the Miura, the fastest production car on Earth in 1966. Then the Countach, then the Diablo, then the Murcielago. From 1963 to 2010, the same engine family, born from tractor logic, powers some of the most iconic supercars in history. Meanwhile, Lamborghini Trattori doesn't slow down either. They introduced synchromesh gearboxes before most competitors. Electronic fuel injection, modular water-cooled engines, tractors with electronic control systems decades ahead of the curve. In 1973, Ferruccio sells both companies and leaves the industry entirely. But his engineering philosophy, his stubborn refusal to accept fragility, never leaves. So, was Lamborghini's first engine actually a tractor motor? Not literally, but spiritually, absolutely. Everything Ferruccio learned from those homemade tractors, longevity, simplicity, durability, became the foundation of Lamborghini supercars. While Ferrari built race cars for the street, Lamborghini built Grand Tourers for the real world. The bull badge isn't just Ferruccio's zodiac sign, it's a reminder that this entire empire began in a shed surrounded by scrap metal. Built by a man too stubborn to let Enzo Ferrari tell him what he couldn't do. A tractor mechanic built supercars, and he built them well enough to scare the legend of Maranello. That's the Lamborghini story.